Imagine this. You're living peacefully in your village. The sun's just risen. The horses are calm. Your children are playing. And then, the sky starts screaming. Not thunder, not drums, Mongol horns. Within hours, your world is ash. But here's the thing. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer with brute force. He invaded the mind first. His real empire wasn't land. It was fear. So how did a dirt-poor nomad, cast out by his own tribe, become a walking psychological operation? Stay until Chapter 6, where we reveal the one tactic so manipulative, it's still used in modern politics, marketing, and online cancel culture. And by the end, we'll ask, are you resisting domination or just calling it freedom? Chapter 1. The boy they left to die. The wind screams across the Mongolian steppe. A child's silhouette moves across frostbitten grass, alone, forgotten. Temüjin wasn't born great. He wasn't born feared, loved, or destined. He was born a problem. His father, Yassa, had power. A tribal leader with fragile alliances. And like most fragile things, he didn't last. Poisoned by enemies. Dead before Temüjin was 10. The moment he died, everything fell apart. The clan turned cold. Protection became absence. Kin became ghosts. They didn't kill Temüjin. They did something worse. They left him alive, with nothing. No food, no tools, no winter shelter. Just his mother, Hoelun, and a few siblings left to starve on the open plains. Mongol culture didn't romanticize weakness. It buried it. And they assumed Temüjin would disappear into the dirt like so many others. He didn't. Survival as military training. Temüjin hunted rats, dug roots, stole bones from wolves. He killed his half-brother Bektar over food, not out of rage, but to assert control. He didn't grow up learning how to rule. He grew up learning that no one is coming to help. He watched his mother plead with the earth. He watched loyalty vanish when power did. It wasn't a childhood. It was a boot camp in betrayal. And so Temüjin started to build a new truth. People do not obey blood. They obey force. He didn't ask to be followed. He made following him the safest option. The birth of fear-based logic. Modern psychology calls this attachment disruption. We call it survival logic on horseback. Temüjin's worldview hardened young. Affection is dangerous. Security is temporary. Control is everything. He didn't crave love. He craved predictability. If you disobeyed him, you bled. If you stayed loyal, he made you powerful. It was brutal, but it was clear. That clarity, it would build an empire. You know the story where the underdog works hard and earns a scholarship? This isn't that. Temüjin watched his tribe walk away, so he turned trauma into policy. Forget leadership seminars. Try being exiled in winter with no food, and still ending up supreme ruler of the largest contiguous empire in human history. Now that's character development. His first real conflict, the Temüjin capture. Temüjin's early rise didn't go uncontested. At around 15, he was captured by the Temüjin, a rival Mongol clan. They bound him in a wooden collar, a kangwei, and paraded him like a beast. But not everyone among them agreed. One sympathetic family helped him escape in the night. It was a risk. Helping him meant death. But they did it anyway. Temüjin never forgot that. Years later, when he conquered the Temüjin, he spared that family. Everyone else? Gone. It wasn't revenge. It was justice, delivered with the memory of a child whose neck still ached from that wooden yoke. In his early 20s, Temüjin formed a blood pact with Jamuka, a childhood friend. They became Anda, soul brothers. Together, they imagined uniting the fractured tribes. But there was already tension. Temüjin wanted meritocracy. Jamuka wanted the old noble hierarchy. They didn't know it yet, but this oath wasn't a beginning. It was the fuse, and the explosion would shape history. Chapter 2. The Blood Oath That Bled Too Long. You don't fear the enemy you hate. You fear the brother who knows your doubts. Temüjin and Jamuka were more than allies. They were Anda, sworn in blood, in boyhood, beneath skies that watched civilizations die and said nothing. But friendship on the steppe is a fragile arrangement, and between these two boys, the seeds of empire were rooted in disagreement. Jamuka was nobility. He believed in bloodlines, in birthright, in the old order. Temüjin, he had no bloodline to protect, only memory, and the fire it fueled. One believed the past had the answers, the other believed it was time to burn the questions. Battle of Dalan Baljut, 1187, tradition versus terror. The cracks split open in 1186 when Temüjin was elected Khan by several minor tribes. A declaration, loud and clear. The underdogs were done waiting. Jamuka responded 1 year later, not with words, with 30,000 warriors. Temüjin had 20,000. Half of them were newly converted, poor, desperate, loyal not to him, but to what he represented, a future not run by the rich. The battle raged near the Onan River. The outcome wasn't subtle. Jamuka crushed Temüjin's army, but that wasn't the real wound. Jamuka then captured 70 of Temüjin's commanders and executed them by boiling them alive. Not for war, for message. It worked. Temüjin's allies scattered. His momentum broke. He disappeared into the wild. And history paused, but only for a moment. Psychological aftershock. What Jamuka didn't understand. Jamuka thought he'd broken him, but Temüjin wasn't built like the noble elite. He didn't anchor to titles. He didn't fall with defeat. He adapted. Where Jamuka celebrated hierarchy, Temüjin erased it. He organized his military in units of 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Promotions were based on merit, not birth. Loyalty wasn't optional, it was engineered. This wasn't reform. This was a psychological coup masquerading as military efficiency. Scene of reflection. Exile reforged him. In exile, Temüjin rebuilt from fragments. No more assuming a shared past, only a common future. He began to recruit from outside. Former enemies, castaways, anyone with skill. He taught them not just how to fight, but why to fight. To never again be ruled by someone who boiled loyalty in public. Jamuka had a chance to end him completely. He chose cruelty over completion. Temüjin never made that mistake again. He didn't humiliate enemies. He eradicated threats. Mercy isn't forgiveness, it's a strategy, and Jamuka used it wrong. Chapter 3. The execution of a bloodline. If you can kill your brother, you can conquer the world. Jamuka had won the battle, but Temüjin was building the war. In the years after Dalan Baljut, Temüjin vanished from the political stage, but he didn't disappear. He hunted, he recruited, he rewired the Mongol world. He turned broken men into loyal officers, outcasts into elite riders. Every tribe he approached heard the same offer: loyalty buys survival, talent buys power. And in a world where noble bloodlines only served themselves, this was more radical than any sword. The assembly of power, 11th century to 12th century. Temüjin expanded methodically. Unlike the fracturing alliances of Jamuka's camp, Temüjin offered structure. He held a kurultai, a tribal council, and was reaffirmed as Khan by a growing coalition of tribes who saw in him something terrifying. Not a warrior, a system. Jamuka's camp called this treason. They called for war again. But this time, they were not facing the boy who begged to be noticed. They were facing a predator with a strategy. Battle of the 13 Wings, 1201. Jamuka and the elite Mongol nobles united in desperation. 13 tribal banners, hence 13 wings. Temüjin, now commanding a far more disciplined and psychologically conditioned army, faced them in open war. This was not a Mongol skirmish. This was a tribal apocalypse. Temüjin's strategy was unprecedented. Coordinated charges, feigned retreats, communication signals across divisions. Jamuka's traditional cavalry shattered. Some of his men defected mid-battle. Others simply stopped believing. The elite class was crushed. The capture of Jamuka, 1206. Jamuka fled, but was betrayed by his own men, turned over to Temüjin. This should have been the moment for public torture, for payback, but Temüjin had already evolved past that. He offered Jamuka a position, a second chance, a place in the new Mongol order. Jamuka refused, not out of pride, out of understanding. They had always been meant to destroy each other. Temüjin ordered his execution. No spectacle, no humiliation, just an end, a surgical removal of the last thread tying him to the old Mongol world. The coronation. Genghis Khan rises. Later that same year, the tribes gathered again. This time, there was no dissent. Temüjin was named Chinggis Khan, universal ruler. The fractured steppes were unified for the first time, not under peace, but under one name. This wasn't unity by alliance. This was unity by architecture. Every tribe became a gear in a machine. Every warrior, a blood cell in a living empire. This was no longer a warlord. This was the birth of a weapon disguised as a man. There was no turning back, only forward and outward. To Bukhara, to Nishapur, to the gates of the Islamic world, to the end of everything anyone thought they understood about war. Chapter 4. The cities that stood too tall. Civilization thought its walls were strong, but they had never met the wind that carries fire. The Khwarezmian Empire was not a village coalition, it was a state, bureaucratic, rich, armed with cities, systems, and armies. When Genghis Khan sent envoys to open trade, the Khwarezmian governor of Otrar responded with suspicion and steel. He arrested the Mongol envoys. He executed them. This wasn't just insult. This was declaration. The invasion of Khwarezm, 1219 to 1221. Genghis Khan responded with the full force of everything he had built. He split his army, something no Mongol general had dared before, and launched simultaneous attacks on multiple cities: Otrar, Samarkand, Bukhara, Nishapur. Each fell, but each fell differently. Because conquest wasn't just a tactic now. It was theater. The siege of Bukhara, 1220. Bukhara was a jewel of the Islamic world. Its citizens believed the walls would hold. They didn't. After a short siege, the Mongols entered the city. Genghis Khan himself rode to the central mosque. He didn't pray. He climbed the pulpit and addressed the stunned crowd. "I am the flail of God. Had you not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me." He allowed the soldiers to plunder the city, not because he needed resources, because terror is more effective when it's personal. The slaughter of Nishapur, 1221. Nishapur resisted. Then a Mongol general, Genghis Khan's son-in-law, was killed in the conflict. The response was not military. It was emotional. It was cultural. It was devastating. Genghis ordered the complete eradication of the city's population. Chroniclers estimate over 100,000 people were executed. The Mongols made mountains of skulls. A message for the next city. Strategy as psychological weapon. This wasn't brutality for its own sake. Genghis was methodical. Cities that surrendered were spared. Cities that resisted were obliterated. This consistency created a pattern, one that traveled faster than horses. By the time the Mongols arrived at a new city, often the gates were already open, not because of tactics, because of reputation. The Khwarezmian Empire ceased to exist within 2 years. Its Shah fled and drowned. The Mongol Empire still moving. Chapter 5. The river that swallowed an army. You can measure a kingdom by its castles, but you measure an empire by its ghosts. The Battle of the Khalkha River in 1223 wasn't about land. It was a test. The Mongols had never fought the Rus before. The Kievan princes believed their sheer numbers would overwhelm the invaders. They underestimated everything. The Mongol feigned retreat. The Mongols pretended to flee. For days, they drew the Rus army deeper into the open steppe. Then, at a precise moment, they turned and unleashed the full weight of their cavalry. The Rus formation disintegrated. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. Thousands were killed. Nobles were captured. But the final act? Even more telling. Execution without blood. The captured Rus princes were laid beneath wooden boards. Then Mongol soldiers stood on top, crushed, slowly, silently, not out of cruelty, but because Mongol law forbade the shedding of noble blood. This wasn't just victory, it was philosophy. To kill without breaking a rule. To destroy without leaving a stain. That was power. Final chapter. The aftershock that became us. Empires fall, but the minds they reshape keep marching. Genghis Khan died in 1227, but the machine he built didn't stop. His sons carried the war west, to Poland, to Hungary, to the gates of Vienna. His grandsons ruled China, Persia, and the Golden Horde. His code, the Yassa, lived longer than most kingdoms. And his ideas, still here. The legacy we don't recognize. Modern military strategy borrows from his tactics. Modern leadership copies his merit-based promotion system. Modern authoritarian regimes imitate his consistency. Clear reward, brutal punishment, control through clarity. Even social media algorithms echo Mongol psychology, predict behavior, respond with force, reward loyalty. He didn't just build an empire, he built a framework. And the scariest part? It works. If this warpath gripped you, like, subscribe, and comment. Would you resist the Khan or ride beside him? Because here at Warrior Wybjorn, we don't do bedtime stories. We do battle epics.